Hello, everyone. As you can imagine, I'm really, really sorry I'm not with you in beautiful Venice. I actually dressed up today uh, for this occasion. You know, look at the suit and tie because everyone knows that Gino is always a well-dressed gentleman, and Volker Erfla tries to compete with him. So I thought I better wear my dark suit. Uh, well, I'm here to say again, I really wanted to be with you guys and gals. Uh, Gino, uh, I know the celebration. I won't even say what year it is, but I think all your friends know you're a very special fellow. I don't know anyone who's been so kind and generous to his colleagues, even his competitors, and ultimately his real true friends than you have been. I consider it a great luck to be one of your friends. Um, I'm not too sure what I should talk about beyond these words, which are really what I wanted to say, and then add a few more statements related to your work. As you all know, retrovirus studies in mice were really about 70% of all of the work in the whole field. I don't know that exactly, but it's certainly the majority. And who more than Gino and his colleagues studied the biology of mouse retroviral diseases and provided some background to the whole field that would eventually be, of course, useful also for human retrovirus studies. Gino's and his colleagues' demonstration of the importance of immunity, especially innate immunity, and the subsequent development of T cells that control retrovirus infections once infected, and the outcome of disease are hallmarks in the field. Um, I'm hoping there'll be still another day and another meeting where we'll all be together in Venice and I have a chance to make up for this absence. I think people are aware of the reasons that I could not come. They are due to commitments here that I cannot get away from, that I didn't know would happen before I accepted the invitation to be with you. To comment on what I see as the field, I think everyone here knows enough about the past and when things developed and how they occurred and where we are in human retroviruses or human tumor viruses in general. The comment about the future, for example, some people ask me, do I think there'll be more human retroviruses? And what about the third, fourth, fifth kind of HTLVs that have been discovered? In fact, I'd like to emphasize that some of these discoveries are really not distinguishable from one-time variants of HTLV1 or HTLV2, things we used to call when we found them HTLV1 or 2B or HTLV1C, etc. Until they're demonstrated to be in a population with some frequency, it's hardly worthwhile giving them a special name. In fact, it's wrong to do so. In fact, I'm not sure which ones have been shown to really be in the population at large. I know at least one of them has, but I don't think it's true with the few other claims that have been made. Moreover, it's presumptuous to assume that they would cause disease. The vast majority of viruses, as everyone here in the audience knows, really don't cause anything. So let's wait a little bit more and see how this works out. But if I were at a meeting and people were talking about the third HTLV or the fourth or the fifth, I'd certainly ask how many, has that been identified in a population? Or is it a one-time detection, a one-time sequence, a one-time virus isolate, etc.? And what's the evidence it plays a role in any disease is the second question. So will there be others related to HTLV or HIV that cause disease? I really cannot say. I don't think anybody can say. Maybe not. We can certainly say that endogenous human retroviruses really should be called particles or sequences or genes and not called viruses because they don't infect. But we all know what is meant by them. I never thought that was going to go anywhere. I guess The first time I became convinced so was by my friend Reinhard Kurth, when he really started piling up quite a bit of data along with his colleagues. So now we have to pay attention to these genomes, to these particles, and see where it takes us. I was resistant mainly because at the beginning of my entry into human retrovirology, Bob Huebner at the National Cancer Institute and his colleagues carried not a big weight, the total weight. And we were thought to be a little crazy for listening to Bill Jarrett and some few others to look for infectious retroviruses. But we knew that in animals, these were what in general caused disease. And the field was really dominated by the endogenous sequences, but it really didn't go anywhere, as we kind of suspected, until I think the recent work. Now, knowing that there is a protein that's similar or the same or derived from an endogenous human retrovirus that's in human placenta that plays a role in syncytia formation, clearly we have to pay serious attention to this. I also, in Moscow, was very impressed by Mark Kaplan's talk. Generally, I think everyone knows Mark well. He has lots of ideas, but bringing home the ball across the goal line has sometimes not been the case. But I think his recent studies of HIV activation of human endogenous retroviral sequences in the formation of proteins or particles is real. And does it have a role in HIV pathogenesis is an open question. Also, apparently, some sequence expression has been associated with Alzheimer's disease. And if that is true and verified, the question I asked him was, what about in HIV neurologic disease? Is there activation in brain cells? I think he indicated that is the case. If so, this would seem to me to have an exciting future. If you'll forgive me, I made a couple of notes of things I didn't want to forget, but it looks like I've hit all the things I wanted really to say. I'm not going to go into HTLV except to say, for me, the action is on the comparison of HTLV 2 to 1, since they're almost the same, and 1 causes disease and 2 rarely. It seems to me that that's something that needs focus, and Japanese groups, Mitsuoka, has shown that differences lie probably in the HPZ gene. That seems to be important. That might give us clues on real mechanisms that might be more important than just HTLV. I think it's curious that you get an adult T-cell leukemia-like disease with transgenic HBZ or transgenic TAX. That needs to be sorted out. With HIV, we all know what the problems are. The problems are getting rid of the problem. So we need continuous financial efforts. It's none of us here at the meeting, not you nor me, that can handle this, but the world needs to come together for helping Africa more. I think an awful lot of dependence has been put on the United States and a very serious burden. And I think, I know I'm talking to mainly Europeans. The European countries could dig into the pockets a little more. I know it's not timely, but it's not timely in America either. Other countries as well, such as China and Japan and Russia, of course. We are now covering probably 1/3 of all the HIV-infected people in Africa, but that still leaves 2/3, and it also leaves something of concern about how long this will go on. Will we be able in the United States to maintain this? The rest for me of HIV that's important is obviously the vaccine. Therapy is there. Whether cure comes or not, I think we're pretty far advanced with therapy. Just as I said, bringing it to everyone in the world, not just for people in the advanced nations, economically advanced nations. We felt that, we heard, we thought, we felt that Africa would be a problem. People in Africa, in following the directions for adherence, they actually do better than we do with people in Washington, D.C. or Baltimore in African American communities. So it's not true that Africa is a problem that way. They learn fast and they follow more carefully. Vaccine efforts, I would have talked about it if I were there. Our candidate goes forward in 2014, sponsored by Gates. We don't have all the problems solved. We hope, we think we'll get interesting results when there's finally efficacy trials, if we all live long enough to see it. but we think there are other things to be solved, such as durability of the antibodies, which no one understands yet, why these antibodies to the envelope fall off. I believe antibodies to envelope are going to be critical for a vaccine, but they're going to have to be the right kind of antibodies. We'll be publishing a paper pretty soon, in a few months, I think, maybe more than a few months, in PNAS related to some of these problems. I have really nothing more to add other than to say, Gino, a hearty, warm, affectionate, fond, happy birthday. And to all my colleagues, again, I wish I could be with you. I think you know that. I'd be having as much fun as any of you, and hopefully contributing to the meeting. Thanks, and good luck to everyone.